On this episode of Phinside The NFL, we will dive fin too deep with myself and Neal Driscoll. Is tanking for a quarterback the right move for the Miami Dolphins? Was Zach Sieler on the trade market before the deadline ended? Plus, is an AFC East arms race about to be underway? We'll also discuss Dolphins have a game this week against the Buffalo Bills. So we got a lot to cover. We got a lot to discuss. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaylen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jaylen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? Is your boy Reason? We're back here for another one as we dive in too deep. I am joined by Neal. And Neal, man, a lot has transpired since the last time we spoke. I guess let's go in chronological order. We'll get to the trade deadline and your thoughts on the deadline. But first, we haven't spoken publicly together, all right, about Chris Grier's firing. Everyone's heard my thoughts on it that watches this channel. Sir, the floor is yours. Chris Grier is out. Let the people know on Phinside The NFL what you think about that move.
Yeah, man. Look, first you thank a guy that's put that amount of time and years to your organization, right? Like, it's a tough job to be an NFL general manager, and obviously we didn't get where we went. But I will say this. Some of the moves that he made in that 2023 season was some of my highlights of being a Dolphins fan in my adult life, right? Like the Tyreek Hill trade. I left work half a day, went over to a Mexican restaurant and was taking shots of Patron to celebrate, right? Like that doesn't get to happen much in your fandom. But the reality is this team did not achieve the results that a team with that amount of resources should have. And they had to make a move. And it was the right move. And it's one of those moves when it happens, you get excited because you think wholesale change is coming. Yeah. I saw some of the posts that you had this week and some of the things that you mentioned. I'm a little nervous to get excited because it does seem that potentially maybe Chris Grier wasn't the biggest problem. And I think someone on our show 2 weeks ago in the comments said, and I agree with it, and I think it's a great statement, that Stephen Ross is the disease. McDaniel, Grier, Brandon Scherr, Tom Garfinkel are the symptoms. I'm a little bit nervous, and we're going to dive into it. But like some of the things we heard about how they approach the trade deadline, give me a reason for concern.
Like, what are your thoughts on this? Because I had some people push back, and they're like, "Well, that's how teams normally operate." But
no, that's not.
I want to tell you this, okay? It's one thing when the general manager gets a trade offer and he goes to the owner for approval, especially if it's a big name. But Neal, my issue is you got Champ Kelly now in charge, who seems like nothing than a glorified yes man. I don't know if you saw Florio's report, but Florio said a source told him there's no chance Champ Kelly's here next year as the interim GM. Sorry,
Sure.
that's the full-time GM, sorry.
Would it make sense?
My issue here is, Neal, Champ Kelly has got to talk with McDaniel, we found out this week, right? McDaniel was in on it, right? McDaniel also said Brandon Shore was in on it, right? So that's 3 people. But through just Barry Jackson alone, we know Ross, Garfinkel, and Ross's son-in-law, Dan Silman, was involved as well. Here's my issue, Neal. That's 6 names, Neal.
Right.
Only 2 of those names, Neal, are football minds, McDaniel and Champ Kelly, right? Champ Kelly with the scouting background. He's a football mind. The fact of the matter is, Neal, Ross, Garfinkel, Dan Silman, Brandon Shore, you're talking about a cap guy, a real estate guy, an F1 event guy, and a marketing UEFA rights guy. You got non-football minds. It's one thing if it's the owner and the non-football mind being involved. But 4 out of the 6 minds, Neal, are non-football minds making football decisions that have ripple effects and implications on this team's future, whether it be the draft, the offseason, whatever. Someone explain to me how this is normal, because I had people, well, this is just how things normally go. This is the normal. No, it's not. The owner is usually the only non-football mind involved, and that's because he's the one investing all the money.
Yeah, and I think the best organizations, the owner isn't really even involved.
No.
Because they give the GM the autonomy to be the decision maker. Philadelphia, Howie Roseman runs that show.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Eric DeCosta runs that show. Stephen Bisciotti does not come in.
And Ozzie ran it before him.
And say, hey, you got to come and send the trade you're getting to me to get approval. Now, on the Lamar Jackson contract, the owner was involved.
If it's like Lamar Jackson, okay, right. I get it.
Right, but when you're trading expiring contracts
like Bradley
for
Chubb.
Players, it shouldn't get to that level. And I'm taking it a step further. You mentioned the 2 football minds you have. Champ Kelly, you just said there's no way in hell he's going to be the GM. And the other one is a coach fighting for his life that might not even be here. Even though, I will say this, it's looking to me like there is a chance that Mike McDaniel will be
he's going to be here. Get ready for it. It's coming. Let me ask you this, Neal, before you go off, because I still want to hear your thoughts on that. Who, from what I could deduce, who's the tie to Champ Kelly? What I could find was Champ Kelly started off as a scout under Mike Shanahan in Denver in 2007. Is the tie Champ Kelly to Mike McDaniel? Because, Neal, I brought this up on my last show. Did Mike McDaniel do what Brian Flores couldn't do? Brian Flores wanted Chris Grier's job. Did McDaniel get the second best thing? Did he get his boy in the GM chair?
Right. Hey, look, maybe, and I'll take you even a step further. I will say we talked about this really early on, and it does appear that like Mike McDaniel found his 9th life, right? He's got his 9th life. It does appear, based off of all the national reporting, that the guy who's going to fall on the sword for all this,
Tua.
One was Grier and the other's Tua.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Tua and
McDaniel's going to get his chance to draft this guy, Neal.
Right. McDaniel is literally like he is pulling the ultimate heel turn, I feel like. And it's funny, man, because I'll tell you, like, I think I'm not saying it's 50-50, but I do think there's a chance that, like, a strong chance that you would have to go out and not win another football game.
I don't even think that'll get him fired, Neal.
If they're competitive.
You've heard me, Neal. What was my theory weeks ago? That he went to Stephen Ross and he said this, Neal. I came in, you asked me to come in and fix Tua. I fixed your reclamation project. He went to a Pro Bowl. He led the league in passing. No one will get that out of him. Let me go get my own guy and watch what I can do. This guy can't take a hit. He's limiting what I can do with my playbook, and his play's regressing. He's the problem. So what did I think? Remember, I told you this. What did I think Ross said to him? All right, Mike, I'll give you another chance. As long as you tank the season out, we can go get another quarterback. I think there's a nudge, hint, wink deal of, hey, bro, that's why you're already hearing them planting the seeds of benching Tua in the media. So if they go to Quinn Ewers and it falls on its face, oh, bro, we were just seeing what we got. That's all we were doing.
And all that makes sense, except one thing that pisses me off then, because we're talking about what they did and didn't do.
Dude, I think there's like an 80% chance McDaniel's back, bro. Like, that's how high I am.
and I agree with all of what you said. The only thing that frustrates me is that I think if that is the case, then they botched the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree.
And Bradley Chubb, from what I heard, there were the 49ers and obviously the Cowboys were named. I heard the Ravens were in the mix. And I heard that the Dolphins wanted more than a 5th-round pick for him, which is just asinine thinking. And a lack of awareness of where you are, because they're going to cut Bradley Chubb after the season and get nothing except $7 million in cap savings and $13 million in dead cap. That's what's going to happen.
Dude, even with Minka, I heard we were asking for a 4th. I heard someone else told me we're asking for a 3rd. Like, right. I was hearing, like, and then by the end of the day, I was hearing, yeah, they wanted a 3rd or better. That's why he didn't go.
And I think he would have been moved to Dallas if they didn't get Quinnen. I think the Quinnen trade prevented that from happening because they had already paid acquired Logan Wilson that day.
Rest in power, Marshawn.
What a brutal.
That's a terrible story.
But I think that Minka would have moved. Now I think instead, like at the end of the season, you might have to just outright release Minka as well. I mean, if you're not going to extend him, he doesn't have a ton of guaranteed money. Like, it's just they put themselves up against the wall in a bad scenario, I think. There was another trade or two they shouldn't have made. And the Minka one doesn't really upset me because I think Minka is playing really well. Chubb should have been moved. Chubb, if you should have went in and and look, Bradley Chubb, he has the sack production this year. He played, I think he was one of the better players on the field against Baltimore. I don't hate the guy, but it just doesn't make sense why he's still here. It doesn't.
That was a bust of a trade for considering the money and what we gave up. That was a bad trade for Grier,
and
man.
We both wanted us to go get Roquan for the 2nd. We both wanted that. And
look who ended up being the better move.
Yeah, Roquan still, I mean, he's not the player he was then, but he was for 3 years, strong player. Yeah. Bradley Chubb has had peaks where he's been a good player, but overall a major disappointment for a 1st-round pick and that contract extension. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah. We did what Parcells always said, don't do. Don't double dip, don't trade, and then give out a bunch of money. And we did that, and we got burned. And
you know what frustrates me, though? They were ready to move on from him before the season, if you remember, because they gave him that restructured contract that he took. And it's like, you were ready to move on from him then. Now you're not.
Let me ask you this, Neal. We both agree Grier needed to be out of here. We both agreed that.
Yeah.
But 100%. Given what you saw at the deadline, shouldn't you have just waited till after the deadline? Like I said this, Neal, I would have told Chris Grier, if you were going to be this involved, I would have said, Chris, here's a list of players. They need to be gone by 4 p.m. or by 4:01 on Tuesday. You're not finishing this season out. If they're all gone by 4 p.m., you'll finish the season out and we'll talk. And you can still in the back of your mind being like, yeah, I'm going to fire the guy. But why are you sending out a guy who GMs are sniffing blood in the water? I mean, the one thing you can say about Chris Grier is he's at least able to make deals and wheel and deal.
100%.
Obviously, now he didn't want to make certain trades, but if you could tell him flat out your job is on the line, now maybe they did, and that's why they agreed to part ways. But I'm just saying here, like, I just feel like now I'm looking at, like, what was the point of firing Grier on Friday if that's the result we were going to get come Tuesday?
Right. And look, the rumor was that the Dolphins didn't seem like they were ready to make a lot of moves under Grier, and Champ Kelly was much more prone to do so, and then we made one move. Now, I take a very different stance than a lot of the stuff I saw on the timeline on Jaylen Phillips. I heard, and I'll say this, I've heard in like some spaces, like people being like, Jaylen Phillips was a miss in the 1st round. I don't know if he was a miss because he was a good player that played here a long time. Yeah. In the draft, there's bad picks, there's good picks, and there's great picks. And as fans, we always want those great picks. Jaylen Phillips was a good pick. That wasn't a Charles Harris disaster. That guy, Jaylen Phillips, was a really good football player that if you took the injuries off the table, I might be open to an extension, right?
You might have a totally different player on your hands.
A different player, right? He probably gets a double-digit sacks a couple years, and he's a different player. Yeah. With that said, I don't view this as us changing an ascending young edge player that's going to reach his best potential in the next year or two for a throwaway pick, because it's an expiring contract, right? The compensatory pick formula that everyone said is, a sure thing. Look, we didn't get the pick we thought we were going to get for Wilkins. We're not going to get the pick we thought for Holland. Like, that compensatory formula is very complicated, and it can bite you like it has bite the Dolphins. So I'm not even resting that we'd get a 3rd round.
And then Neal, do you want to enter free agency at the mercy of playing the compensatory formula so you get your picks?
No, and he has a good enough relationship with the franchise that like it might be a scenario that in a few months' time, when free agency kicks off, that he wants to come back here for that whatever short extension to prove it. If he signs a prove it deal, he might even want to come back here. So the Dolphins might have got a third-round pick for a small rental. Them having 3 third-round picks in this draft is very exciting to me. I think it's actually where the strength of the draft is.
What do you think of the Phillips trade? You didn't tell us.
I liked it, man. I thought it's a move you had to make.
Yeah,
You're not paying them. It's an expiring deal.
Yeah.
The comp pick, even if you got a third-round comp pick for it, it's not going to be higher than the Eagles pick.
And it's not going to be until 2027.
Yeah, it's not until 2027. Like, I just don't think there's a way that you can poo-poo this Phillips trade. I really don't.
So you don't mind them paying the $5.1 million?
Fuck that. It's nothing to them.
I agree.
Their money's going to reset. They're going to get rid of Tyreek, Austin Jackson.
But that's also if you would have got rid of Chubb, Neal, you would have offset like $4.5 million of that 5.1. Like, that's another reason why I don't get it, Neal.
Yeah, it doesn't all add up. It's like they take the half measures, as always.
Yeah, everything they do.
And then it makes what hurt, I think, was that the Jets just waved the white flag on their organization.
Yeah.
And I think I think the Jets made the right moves. I do.
I agree.
But
what they got back was phenomenal for Quinnen, and I do too.
Insane value.
Sauce.
But here's what you got to remember. Getting rid of those players for picks is the easiest part. The hard part is what comes next. And we saw it firsthand in 2020 and 21.
Well, isn't this the second time in 5 years they've had 5 picks in 2 drafts?
I think they had 4 in those 2 drafts, so it's close. But, like, to me, like, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner were 2 of their 3 best players, with Garrett Wilson being the 3rd, in my opinion. Like, Membu has looked very good. I think I'd be worried about Olo Fashanu if I was a Jets fan. He does not look consistent. Patrick Paul's been a better player and is a second-round pick as a first. Both of their guards, Vera Tucker and Johnson.
They turned down a 4th for Brees from the Chiefs. They wanted a 3rd, and the Chiefs
I would have taken that trade. Now,
aren't you shocked that the Chiefs didn't go up to a 3rd? Because it's going to be end of the 3rd for Brees. Brees, if healthy, could be dynamic in that offense,
right? And look, you saw Brees. He's being held hostage. He wants out.
Yeah.
But I get why the Jets
Garrett
did it.
They shut down. They wanted nothing to do with the Garrett Wilson trade,
right? Because I would trade Jaylen, any player on our team, for 2 first-round picks. Anybody. But now you have big shoes to fill. Yeah. Because 2 of your 3 best franchise players that are very young still are gone. And like I see, and I was guilty of this in 2020, so I don't want to. When you get those draft picks, you operate like they're sure things. Yeah. Right? But like Austin Jackson hasn't been worth it, right?
Well, I knew that.
Noah Igbenogany hasn't been worth it. Robert Hunt's good. But he was only here for a few years. Raekwon Davis never lived up to the potential, right? Like it's one of those things that like draft, like it's a 50-50
but then when you learn
the first round pick works.
When you learn the intricacies and you know that like Raekwon was really supposed to be J.K. Dobbins. You know what I mean? Noah Igbenogany was really supposed to be Cesar Ruiz. Austin Jackson's pick, they were trying to move up and get Tristan Wirfs. So they like missed on the real guy and then what they settled for. But I wanted to talk about something you said. You're talking about the like bust word. I think that word is thrown around when you're talking about Jaylen Phillips. I think that word is thrown around way too much. Like I hear people saying Tua is a bust. I'm here to tell people. No. Tua is not a bust. He was your first Pro Bowl quarterback in 30 years. Right. He led the league in passing, passer rating, blah, 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 blah. What's happened with Tua, and I've talked about this, what's happened with Tua is he stopped putting the work in off the field, and now you are seeing the result. You can say what you want. You can hate on Nick Hicks all you want, but Nick Hicks had Tua in the best shape of his life, and when Tua was in the best shape of his life, we were getting the best results of his pro career. When he was working with 3D QB, go look at the 6 games he came back from a concussion last year. He was on fire, right? 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception, 117 passer rating, a 77 completion rating. When he's worked with the right people on his body and his game, the results have come out. But the reality is, due to Miami capping him working outside of the building with those people, as well as the money he's got, He's not putting the work into his game and into his body in the offseason like he was under Nick Hickson with 3D QB. And now this is the result you are getting, and this is the regression you are seeing. And I know what's going to happen. I've talked about this. Something like Stafford's going to retire. He'll go to the Rams. We'll take on a bunch of money. McVay's a better coach. They have built a better team. They'll get him right. They'll win playoff games for him, and we'll be over here searching for our quarterback. That's just the life of a Dolphins fan. But, like Deion Jordan was a bust.
100%.
Like that's a bust. Charles Harris, like you mentioned, was a bust, right? Tua wasn't a bust. Jaylen Phillips was not a bust. I think people like the term generational, throw that word around way too much.
Elite's another one. Elite.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here's the reality. A first-round pick is a coin flip. It really is. And then every round you go down. Second-round pick's probably 25%. Then it's 12% in the third round. And then you're getting into 6% in the fourth round, and then it gets lower and lower and lower, right? Like that. There's 53 rosters spots on 32 teams. That's all there is with all the football players in the world.
Yeah.
So it is hard. Like a guy that is here and starts on your team for 5 years, leads you to the playoffs twice, leads the league in passing, and makes a Pro Bowl, even though I don't hold a lot of merit into the Pro Bowl, is not a bust. Ryan Tannehill is not a bust. They weren't the quarterbacks that got to the level that we want as franchise because, sometimes
no
you're
one has.
You're on your lawn and you look at the other. I keep saying this, and this is going to be my constant theme until something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not them.
No, it's not us. It's them. It's not them.
It's the Dolphins.
It's not us. It's them.
Not those players. It's the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the fans because remember you saying that about the fans.
Everybody who comes here.
It's not the players.
Part,
it's the franchise. That's better. Yeah.
It's so true when you look at
it. It is. You're right.
I think our best player on our team right now, it's A-Chain, but I think Waddle's right there. But Waddle's underperforming in this offense still. Tyreek's gone. It's the coaching. He gets 4 targets in the second half of a football game.
Neal, you're about to tell Neal.
How?
I did a exercise last week. You should do it. Go to ESPN, go to his game logs. Go see how many games over the last 3 years he's had 10 or more targets. This guy's crazy. Putting up 80 to 120 yards with 6 targets a game, bro. And I'm not even exaggerating. We just, even when Tyreek goes down, I think he's proven he's a legitimate wide receiver since Tyreek has gone down. I don't even think you've scratched the surface because you haven't made him enough of a focal point. A-Chan and him should just be fed so many touches. It's unbelievable. But
we don't do it. We don't do it. Or if we
right
go in the ball, we throw screens 3 lines behind the line of scrimmage and hope that they make 3 people miss before they get to actually hit their acceleration points, right? It's to me, and I'll be honest, this year I stopped watching the All-22. And I got tired of watching All-22. And the main reason is I was tired of seeing Jaylen Waddle wide open and no one giving him the damn ball.
I watch it, but I stopped doing the breakdowns because people just weren't responding to it this year because we're so bad. I'll bring them back next year, but it's it is. It's not, and it's not even fun to watch it because you're not even getting anything good on the defense. And then when you do get something good on the defense, the offense is just an absolute crap show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what back and to finalize the talk about the draft trade done. That's what's going to be so frustrating is that 4th round, 5th round picks next draft are going to help us more than meaningless football games for the rest of this year. And, we've seen the reports that they were kind of steadfast on what they believe they deserve for their value for those players. But to be honest, man, it's not what you believe. Your organization lacks direction and awareness. Let the market tell you they should have flipped Bradley Chubb for a 5th rounder as soon as it was offered. It shouldn't even have been a thought. And that's why, it's another position that they took the half measure approach. And we'll see what happens. I mean, we were talking, I think they have to be a complete disaster for us to be sure that Mike McDaniel's not back. A complete disaster.
Yeah, and then again, now you
don't even know.
Well, now the hiring process, you're sticking them like you stuck McDaniel with Boyer and Crossman and everyone. You're now doing it to whoever your new GM is, which is what worries me. That are they really going to stick with Champ Kelly for one more year because he's already on board?
They see, and that's where it's are they? I feel like we're heading to another throwaway season, another throwaway.
Yeah.
And I think the albatross is the Tua contract, and I think that they're probably planning to just let it. And if that is your play, I am just saying this. I don't condone it. I condone it 100% the opposite. Whatever pick you get this year, trade it back to acquire more picks for the future. Trade it for, to a team like, man, if Cleveland's a few slots before you or after you and you can get 2 first round, do whatever you have to do to make that thing multiply. Don't just draft a bad football player or a player that doesn't deserve. As much as I like Caleb Downs, drafting him at 5 this year does nothing for this organization moving forward. You have to be thoughtful of the future.
I mean, unless I guess Fitzpatrick goes out the door and you don't have a safety at all, and Dante Trader's your best option, then Caleb Downs may make a little sense in that situation.
I mean, it is the never-ending cycle of misery, though. It's miserable.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the trade deadline here with a few little bits. Let's start off with what Cam Wolfe said on the Insiders. I'm going to play the clip here, and let's talk about it. Specifically, Jaylen Waddle, who we didn't talk. There was a lot of interest on him. The Denver Broncos were really interested on Jaylen Waddle. So this is what Cam Wolfe had to say.
Yeah, there was a lot of calls, but there was no fire sale. And that's really the big thing. I think there was a belief in the league of maybe because everything went bad, they'd sell everybody for 25 cents on the dollar. And that's why we did not see the volume of moves. And I'll start with Jaylen Waddle here, because that's the big one. People thought that maybe there was a chance this could get done. I was told the Denver Broncos had some conversations with them. But from one source perspective, they wanted a Quinnen Williams or Sauce Gardner type return for Jaylen Waddle. And that just wasn't the market out there for him. They view him as a part of their new future, whether that's with Tua, McDaniel, or some combination of other people. They think Jaylen Waddle, who's on pace for his 4th 1,000-yard season in the last 5 years, would be a big part of it. And so that was always considered unlikely from people I talked to. But the other pieces were a little bit more of a surprise. There was some thought that Bradley Chubb might be sent out on the deal. This could be his last year here. Their thought process there is we're not going to trade guys for late round pick swaps, which was a lot of the offers they received for guys like Chubb and Minka, when they feel like they can still have a chance to fight through the year. This is going to be an important end of the year for Mike McDaniel, for Tua Tagovailoa, and they want to give these guys a shot. So although they have a bad record, they are not in the let's pack up and paint for 2026 yet. So that's why you saw just Jalen Phillips to Philly, but maybe some of these conversations resume in the offseason when they make more changes.
Now, another guy, Neal, that they listened to offers on was apparently Zach Sieler. The Dolphins received calls on him, but the deal is apparently they weren't entertaining any deal unless it involved a high day 2 pick. So that tells us like a second rounder they wanted in return for Zach Sieler. We're hearing now that it was late round pick swaps for Chubb and guys like Minka. Obviously we all know they don't have a fighting chance. But do you think it's maybe a little bit of what you talked about? Maybe they say, okay, we're going to bring back Minka and we're going to bring back Chubb on some, if we fill out in free agency in the draft, we'll bring them back on cheaper deal. Like, I mean, I don't get it. Why is there no reason to pack up your 2-7? Now, Jaylen Waddle, I get, especially, and we'll talk about this in a little bit here. If you're going for a quarterback in the draft, you don't want to make the cupboards bare for when he arrives. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, as the kids say, the math ain't mathing to me. And I love Zach Sieler, and we pushed all off season for the extension, and he actually has picked it up a little bit. But a second round pick, I don't think you were ever going to get for Zach Sieler. But a third round pick, I think I would have been open for a third round pick, depending on what teams. And I think one of those teams was the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have 3 picks in the third round. They were after Quinnen. I think that was their plan B. So as much as I like Zach Sieler, he's 30, and I would have listened. I'm not saying I would have made the move, but I would have had those discussions. But I do view him as part of the solution, not the problem. And I think he'll settle in and probably finish the back half of this season playing at a pretty good level. But it goes against everything we heard again, though. Like they were, Champ Kelly was open for business. It just seemed like they weren't open for business at all. That's what it sounds like. I mean, but
unless you overpaid.
Unless you overpaid. And I love Zach Sieler. I hope he can win playoff games here. But I probably would have explored moving him to just see maybe you could get a third and a package, a player. I don't know what it could have looked like, but I would have probably explored that. And again, I don't know about Chubb and Minka because I don't see a worldwide where it makes sense to bring them back. And I know that they need some veterans. You can't just have rookies on minimal deals everywhere else, but I don't know, man. It scratches my head because it just doesn't seem like they're committed to a full rebuild yet. Yeah. Even though they fired their GM, they made one trade with Jaylen Phillips. I feel like they were trying to get a third-round pick for Minka and Chubb. And, it's to me, they weren't leaving with a haul like the Jets had. I don't think they had an awareness of, what their own players are worth on the open market.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what we talked about earlier, where 4 of the 6 minds involved aren't football minds, so it makes sense. But
right.
What do you make of what Jeremy Fowler said? I don't know if you saw what he said in that article, but he said he was told the Broncos were among the teams that explored a deal for Waddle as an elite wideout at age 26 with a reasonable contract. It was enticing. The Steelers, the Giants, and others either had interest or would have had interest if not for the steep price tag, which, depending on what team you ask, fluctuated between a first-round pick or a 1+. Some teams had a tough time getting a read on Miami's intentions at the deadline, which is understandable 4 days removed from Chris Grier's firing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It does.
Graziano said it feels as if the Dolphins are in some kind of awkward in-between phase.
It does feel like that. And as a fan of this team for 37 years, I honestly don't see the direction they're going in. I thought when they got rid of Grier and we were texting. I thought Minka was gone. I think Chubb was gone.
Yeah,
I thought there was other players. I thought Russell Douglas could have gone. I thought Matt Judon could have went. Yeah, I thought you were going to see the fire sale. And we didn't see that, and it just leaves me scratching my head. Like the move that puzzles me the most is the Bradley Chubb, a guy who's been injury plagued, who is definitely not part of your future. He's one of your few cap outs after this season, so he's not coming back. Like, I don't understand how you didn't take any offer you had just to clean up the salary cap portion of it. And then you're giving a guy, some young guys some burn to see what they have. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And I honestly feel like we leave the trade deadline taking the Jets' role as the laughingstock of football right now. Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like to me.
So let me ask you this now, given how the trade deadline's played out and everything's played out. Right now, is tanking for a quarterback the right move for the Miami Dolphins? Ty Simpson, Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza right now seem like they're going to be the 3 guys that are the first off the board. Is it, right now the Dolphins are picking 4th. I mean, but the Titans are up there at 2, which you could probably trade up with. Is that the right move, going for one of those 3 guys? Or is it going for a Spencer Fano or Francis Moigoa? Or is it maybe trading back a little bit and taking an Arvell Reese and building a stud linebacker or a Caleb Downs? Or maybe you want to build the cornerback room out with Mansour Delaney or Jeremy McCoy. What are your thoughts on right now where this team's at? Because the thing with Mendoza, Moore, and Ty Simpson, I think we can all agree on, it doesn't feel like there's a sure bet blue chipper. Like, there's no one that had us excited like Burrow or even Tua coming
chance.
out, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously, I didn't fall for it, but people aren't as excited about this class like they were for Trevor Lawrence, right? There isn't the excitement, obviously, around an Andrew Luck or something like that. Now, this is where I stand, Neal. I think given the state of the offensive line, and if McDaniel is staying like I believe he will be, I think the best option is Ty Simpson or Dante Moore, some guys who can create out of structure, but still give you that accuracy and that playmaking ability out of structure when things break down a little bit. I think Mendoza, we just went through a pocket quarterback and we didn't figure out how to get that right. I mean, are we going to go get another one just because he's taller and a Dolphin fan with a bigger arm? You're going to get the kid killed. Now, if we change head coach, let me know who the head coach is and we can revisit that discussion. But based off what we could be, and I think Moore and Ty Simpson are the better fits, or round 2, maybe a Taylon Green Or, a kid I really like, he's in my top 5 now, Brandon Sorsby out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these kids in the second round. But, I'll tell you this, what scares the hell out of me with a Lenore Sellers or Taylor Green if McDaniel staying here is I don't think we got the staff in place to develop these guys from the pocket that need that kind of work. So we're in kind of a weird place where, okay, you can't get arguably the most pro-ready guy because your offensive line isn't ready, but you need pro-ready, but you need a guy who can extend and make plays out of the pocket, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts here? Is this team better off filling out and maybe, like you said, if you land outside that top 3, trading back and targeting a quarterback, maybe a Sam Levitt, my guy Julian Sayin, maybe, someone in the 2027 draft, Lenore Sellers if he goes back, John Mateer because I think he's going back, someone in the 2027 draft with your draft picks, and then just filling out the roster with free agency in the draft this year? Where are you at with this?
Look, if we have a top 10 pick, especially a top 5 pick, I think you have to evaluate the quarterback market. You have to. Like, getting a top 5 pick, as bad as the Dolphins are, it doesn't happen often, So, you have to evaluate it. The truth for me in the quarterback position is I like the quarterback class, but I think the gap between any of them is very minute. And, I look at it from a Dolphins perspective. If I was the Steelers, if I was the Ravens, if I was the Eagles, I'd take Lenore Sellers all day because those organizations can get a guy like that and mold his strengths to their team. Yeah. I think Lenore Sellers in Miami would be a challenge just because I don't think they would know how to handle it. I'm just being honest. Mendoza, to me, it's a blend between a Carson Palmer and Jared Goff. He's a big arm pocket guy.
Yeah, I see Ben Roethlisberger.
I don't see, though, like this. I think these quarterbacks are going to elevate if there's so many quarterback-needy teams like we see in a lot of drafts. Like, I would say this. I don't think any of them were in the top 10 selection in this draft. I don't.
Yeah, you're not in love with any of these guys, right?
But, hot take for me, I think the 2026 draft sucks. I like the wide receiver position. I like the edge position. I like the interior offensive line position. I like safety. Other than that, I think the quarterback group is a B-. I think the running backs is a C-. Jeremiah Love holds the class up. The tight end groups are okay. It's Kenyon Sadiq and a bunch of other guys. The wide receiver groups are amazing. The wide receiver is awesome. I like Spencer Fanu. I think he's a player that is not a top 10 worthy pick, in my opinion. I think he's a good player. I don't like Malgoe as much as other people. I think he's a better guard at the next level. I don't think either of them
That's
are
how I think of Proctor.
Yeah, I think Proctor's inside. The offensive lineman that I actually like the most, and we're talking way too rich where the Dolphins are going to take him, but at the top of round 2 that I would look for is Jennings Dunker from Iowa. I think
he might go in the back end of the first. Yeah,
he's a guy I like a lot. I'm just like.
I like your boy from, Penn State too, but he's going to be too rich for them to take a guard that high.
That high, I agree.
Yeah,
the Ohio State defenders, though, and I posted this week. I think there's 3 elite guys from Ohio State, and everyone knows Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
I believe in BPA for most teams, but I just think if the Dolphins are top 10 and the quarterback's not there to move back, get more picks for the future. Arvo Reese. Because here's the thing I think about him. I think a lot of teams are going to start looking at him as like an edge more than a linebacker. He's explosive. I think he's going to be a top 5 to 7 pick when it's all said and done. I'd look at
Arvo?
Yeah.
He's going to be a top 10 pick.
I think he's going to skyrocket. And the other guy that I love, and I'm not saying we pick him, but Caden McDaniel. No, he's a receiver. Caden McDaniel, their defensive lineman, is I think the best run player in the entire draft. He is awesome. A beast. But I think the move is, even if you got Ruben Bain staring you in the eyes, I am going to
Cassius Howell's going to get a lot.
Oh,
he's going to rise.
He's my I think I love him.
Well, I think he might actually fight Ruben Bain for number 1. I think you're going to see him rise big time.
Yeah, I think the move is quarterback or trade
David
back.
Bailey, too.
Yo, Bailey's awesome. Bailey's awesome. I love him. Yeah. The quarterback I think is the best fit for the Miami Dolphins in a world where McDaniel's back is Dante Moore. I don't even think it's close. And I like Ty Simpson. Wow. And I also said that Shea said that Lenore Sellers might have his eyes on the Hurricanes.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers makes a ton of sense. Go back. I heard weeks ago that Mateer is probably going back to Oklahoma too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. Now the problem we run into, Neal, is if Moore goes back and Lenore's goes back and Mateer goes back. Now it's like Mendoza, Ty Simpson, a little bit of a gap, Sorsby, and then the cliff probably starts now.
One guy I like that we didn't mention is
I like
Payton.
Jaylen Green, but he's fucked.
I like the kid from North Dakota State, Cole Payton, a lot too, but not as
Those
a
guys
round one.
just need
Not
so much work usually.
well, not as
man.
a top 10 guy, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm saying like here's your options if that happens. If all these guys go to school, you sell your soul and move everything you have to go get the first pick, or you play it smart and you wait till 2027, and that's frustrating because we're all not getting younger and another year of disappointment. But that allows you to clean a lot of the books. There's a lot of ways they could go here. We'll see. I think a lot of these quarterbacks that are rumored to stay and go, it's hard to give up that NFL money. I know NIL money makes it easier to go back. But when you're a top 5 draft pick, it's hard to say that I'm not going to take that. But I do think Dante Moore would be the best fit for the Dolphins. And the guy that I would like the most for the Dolphins, actually. Like I would say how I look at it is I think the best quarterback is Lenore Sellers, but I don't think he's a good fit for Miami. The guy that I would probably want the most is Fernando Mendoza. I do like his game, but I think the player that's the best fit is Dante Moore. And I like Ty Simpson, but he's raw. But I will say there is a little bit of Joe Burrow to him. And when I watch him, the way he moves, it's very Joe Burrow vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah. I got people in the chat. They like Aiden Childs, but
He's going back. He's leaving Michigan State, I think. But I heard some rumors that he might be going to Oregon State.
Back. Yeah. Kid's talented, but he needs some work still too, right? You
know? I mean, look, we're talking top 10 pick. Dolphins are going to be top 5, 7 pick. They're not. None of these games that the names that are like the nice to haves. You're not going to reset your franchise for any of these guys.
Now, I would take Brendan Sorsby or Jaylen Green at the top of the second.
Sure. I think Jaylen Green's very toolsy, and he's very intriguing, actually. He's a lottery ticket, right? He's a lottery ticket. Like, I don't know. I think the Dolphins have to get a sure thing, but it might not be this year, and I think as a fan base, we just got to be patient and understand that it's probably going to get a little bit worse before it gets better here. And I think next year we could be the next year's version of this year's Jets. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think one of the smartest thing the Jets did was load up with 3 first-rounders in 2027, which I think there's 15 players in that draft that are as good as any player in this draft.
Yeah, because look what they're setting up. They're setting up to pair Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin together if they wanted.
Franchise changing, if that happens.
That would be, that would be. And then you pair that with Garrett Wilson, the 3 Ohio State guys.
The only thing I'll say to that is the picks, the teams they made trades with. The Colts, I think, are going to be good for in that weak division for the next couple of years. So I don't see that pick getting below the 20s. And look, man, the Cowboys are the Cowboys, but they have talent. And they're never going to be a top 10 team. I think they'll be a 15 team. So the Jets, they'll have draft capital. Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin are probably going to go 1 and 2 in the 2027 draft, right? Depending what quarterback ascends. You know what I mean?
And I'll take a hot take. If he declares, I think Ty Simpson. I actually think if they declare, Ty Simpson or Dante Moore will go ahead of Mendoza because of their athleticism.
I think the Jets would go over Ty Simpson over Mendoza.
Yeah, I think the Jets are going for Lenore Sellers if he declares, but I don't think he is.
Well, here's the thing: is I think he does declare if the Jets have a number 1 overall pick, and he knows he's going there.
Yeah. So, and is Raiola's coming out next year too, right? He's in 2027?
Next year it could be him. I know that he hasn't had a good season, but there is definitely tools with Lagway.
I like. Listen, if he comes out,
Manning is still
Sam Levitt and Julian Sayin are my 1 and 2 next year.
Julian Sayin is to me the most impressive player in college football this year.
But I actually think, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. I think 2028 looks like it is going to
Underwood and Malik.
Well, you got Underwood, you got Malik, you got Sunga Patele. You got, have you watched Bear Backmeyer at all from BYU?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With 44. He's got the 47, sorry. He's number 47, right? Like, and then there's that kid from Pitt. Have you watched that kid from Pitt? What is it? Heinstedt?
Eli Holstein?
Is it Holstein? What was it?
I thought there's. I haven't watched a lot of Pitt. I think they're starting quarterbacks a junior.
Yeah, it's
named
Eli Holstein. Yeah, I always get his name fucked. What game did I saw? I watched him in the. I'll tell you what game it was. I watched his game against. What was it? Charlotte. I watched that game against Charlotte, and he freaking shredded them.
Yeah,
I was like, God damn. So, but yeah. Anyways, 2028 is like looking like it's gonna. That's gonna be a year, man.
Yeah. No, it's dude. It's here's the thing. That's I think like if I was a Dolphins or Jets fans and we're both in the rebuilding stages, there's a lot of ambiguity on what the quarterback classes are going to look like. And look, there's bad teams. The Saints are a bad team. The Titans are freaking awful, man. And I don't know if they have buyer's remorse on Cam Ward already, but man, it does not look. I mean, he's in a bad situation. That's how quarterbacks fail. Is the environment is bad. That's why, like, if these quarterbacks in 26 are not the sure thing, the best thing to do is to set yourself up for future success. Build the environment so that the quarterback comes in later and is, I don't want us making a run at any veterans though. Like, we've talked about this before. Like a guy that I like, and I don't understand why it just hasn't worked is like a guy like Kyler Murray. But I wouldn't want to trade any draft capital for him. Like I want a young guy in the draft that's going to be here, and I want to take our chances again.
I'm telling you, man. The more I watch him, and I know I started tweeting clips about him a couple weeks ago. The more I watch him, and I know the season's got to end and the playoffs around the corner. I honestly think Brandon Sorsby is going to rise by the end of this process, man.
He's kind of like, I mean, like they don't look identical, but the way he scrambles around and throws the ball around, it reminds me of like watching Baker Mayfield sometimes. Like he's just always keeping things alive. He's really toolsy, man. Like I like him too. I like him a lot. I do think he's a guy that could ascend as a late first round type of quarterback.
Yeah, he needs like some mechanical work, but I think, beyond that, man, he looks
fun player to watch.
Yeah, man, he looks like really good, eh? Like, and I was right. It's not Eli Holstein. The kid that I'm telling you about is Heinstell.
Okay.
I knew it was.
Is he their backup?
Mason Heinstell. Yeah, he's a freshman, bro. And he's I think he's been I remember what game was it? Against Boston College, he threw like 4 touchdowns. Yeah, that was the game I watched. Was the Boston College, and then he beat FSU. He beat the 25 ranked FSU at the beginning of October. I knew it was Heinstell. I knew it wasn't Eli Holstein. I'm like, no, this ain't. They both got the H, and that's what confused me. Because I've only watched like 2 games of Heinstell. Well, I've watched 3 games of Pitt, but I've watched 2 games of Heinstell starting. Go watch him, bro. He's a freshman.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he's in the class with Sungapatele, Underwood, your boy Malik Washington, Bear Backmeyer.
Yeah, they have Pitt has a nice running back, Desmond Reed. I like him as a player. I've watched a little bit of him. I haven't watched a lot of Pitt, even though it's
the kid's a freshman and he's got an arm, bro.
Nice.
He's got an arm.
Man. Yeah, look, you know us. There's gonna be a lot of draft talk in the upcoming weeks, man, because hey, like I don't see them getting a win this week, so I feel like we're gonna have a chance to get up that draft order a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, he took over for Holston.
Okay. Wow, yeah. I didn't know they benched Eli Holston.
Yeah, and now it's the Heinstell show.
Wow, that's pretty surprising because Holstein was a guy that had a lot of promise.
A lot of hype around him, right? So
good.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I wanted to continue on here. The reason why we're talking about quarterback, this segment from Adam Schefter, I'm gonna play it. Listen to what he said. Could we be on the verge of an arms race in the AFC East?
Think about the Miami Dolphins here. You're in a division, as you mentioned. Josh Allen is in Buffalo. Drake May is in New England. The New York Jets are going to be getting a quarterback, a high-profile quarterback, in the next 2 years, whether it's the draft class of 26 or 27 or both. And Miami has Tua down there. At some point in time, we all expect them to be searching for a new quarterback. So they are, right now, in the most challenging position of all those teams, which could lead in the offseason to the Dolphins being more aggressive and more willing to listen to trades revolving around their players to get as much draft capital as a team like the New York Jets now has.
Exactly, and I guess that's the other part of the wait and see. If you're one of these teams who doesn't have a franchise quarterback and you've accrued some of these picks, now it's going to be, hey, are we going to trade for an established veteran like a Tua or a Kyler Murray, or are we going to wait till the draft? So that'll be something for us to keep our eyes on, as the season rolls on here.
So what do you think about that, Neal? We know Stephen Ross doesn't like to lose to Jets owner Woody Johnson, and he's watching him stack the picks. Whether he gets them right or not, like you mentioned earlier, it's a whole different story, but he's looking at the position they're in compared to the position we're in, and he's probably not feeling too great. Drake May, remember, I was the Drake May pusher in the community. Everyone wanted to doubt him after year one, and I remember people mocking the tweet I said that this guy would be Josh Allen 2.0, and oh boy, the New England Patriots have found their guy. Josh Allen is who he is. He's the Dolphin killer. And now they're in the position to find a quarterback of their selection and their choice much easier than we are. Are the Dolphins about to find themselves in the middle of an AFC East arm race that if they don't make a move quickly, they could fall very behind and thus the team could fall to the bottom of the division?
Well, look, Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in football. There's no other way to slice it. I think he might be the best. It is what it is, right? Like, we're going to have to deal with that guy for whatever, the rest of his career. The Patriots are probably the best story in football this year, right? Look what they did. They brought an established, veteran, winning coach. They got the quarterback right. They didn't add any superstars. They added Stephon Diggs, the ghost of Stephon Diggs. Harold Landry. Did they really make any earth-shattering moves? Not really. They found a coach and a quarterback. That's how you win in this league. The Jets, there's a strong chance the Jets mess it up again, but there's no doubt that they have more resources to go get their quarterback than the Dolphins do right now.
Yeah.
And what scares me, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show, is does it make them do something desperate to get the quarterback they want? Would they package a first-round pick with a player like Jaylen Waddle to go get a pick that, I think would be a horrible move? But, it makes me think that, if you're looking at the race right now and the goal is to have an established NFL quarterback that gives you the best chance to win every week, first place right now is the Bills in our division. Second's the Patriots. And maybe people will view this as a shot at Tua. I'll give the Jets the nod because it does seem like Miami's getting out on Tua. Now they know they have 5 first-round picks. They're going to go in the next 2 years and go get a franchise quarterback. And maybe it's Zach Wilson. Maybe it's Mark Sanchez, but maybe it's not. And I think it's clear the Dolphins are trying to find a path to get away from Tua Tagovailoa. And if that's their goal, which is the right goal, I think at this point, they're in the worst position in that division to go find a future franchise quarterback. And I don't know. And I'll say this, despite not handling the deadline the right way, as we've talked about earlier, I still don't think even acquiring a 5th from Chubb and a 4th from Minka would change that much. It's just unfortunately where they were, those extensions to Ramsey, to Tyreek, to Tua, when they were done, you got to look at it this way. All 3 of those extensions failed.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to come back from that.
You know what, man? I see someone mention Baker Mayfield in the chat, and I'll say this, man. Adam Gase would have got Baker Mayfield. We just would have Cleveland Browns Baker Mayfield. He would have wound up in the same position, man. And I know you've heard me talk about this to nauseum, Neal. This is what happens when your team has no identity or blueprint of how to build a team. You talk about the Ravens, we talk about the Steelers, we talk about these teams that have identities. I mean, the Chiefs under Andy Reid, identity. The Philadelphia Eagles established their identity under Andy Reid and just have continued to build off of it and evolved it with Howie Roseman and such. I mean, to be honest with you, we didn't even have a proper identity in the 90s. We were a finesse team in the 90s, but no one wants to talk about it. Why do I think Richmond Webb isn't in the Hall of Fame? Because we didn't run the ball enough. We weren't physical enough, Even Shula fell victim to not establishing a proper identity, which is crazy because look at our identity in the 70s and the early 80s with Zonk and those guys, smash mouth, bang them out football, and we went to 3 straight Super Bowls and won 2 back-to-back off that, and we went away from it, right? Because And you look at Bill Walsh, and that's the guy that knew how to build around a passer like Marino. Clearly,
right.
Wasn't
Look,
Shula.
Since the last game of last season, when the Jets and Aaron Rodgers danced all over us, the Miami Dolphins organization has been exposed of being just lacking direction, lacking leadership, lacking a vision, lacking. That's what we've seen. And now they're lacking to make the right moves at the trade deadline. They're lacking to fix the problem all the way. Loyalty, to me, is one of the best qualities people can have. Stephen Ross's loyalty is a detriment. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I like Mike McDaniel can finish this season. If he's back next season, you're just compounding the issues.
Yeah.
This team needs, and somebody yelled at me because I said this team needs a football czar. And they said, Neal, who's your magical football czar? It doesn't take much. You find a guy that knows football and you give him the power. You step out of the way. It doesn't have to be Ozzie Newsome. You have to find somebody that can turn the ship around. And until they have it, like the quarterback talk, all that stuff's fun, right? Like I enjoy the draft talk. If the guys that are in this building get a hold of this top 5 pick this year, the Titanic is going to hit the iceberg again in about 3 years. Yeah. Like that's just how it goes.
Randy Constance says Mason Heinstadel cooked his Knowles. So, because he had like 64 yards on the ground, 321 yards in the air against them when Pitt beat the Knowles 34-31. All right, we got the Bills this week. What are your thoughts? Josh Allen owns us. We're in absolute disarray. They're getting ready for their annual playoff push. He's coming off just beating, going 5-1 after beating Mahomes again in the regular season.
Good.
Can't beat him in the playoffs worth a damn, but he's 5-1 against him in the regular season. What are your thoughts, Bills week?
Yeah, we're not winning this game, and it's okay. I mean, look, Jalen Phillips, for all the things he didn't do here, he was a player that played against the Buffalo Bills really, really well. Chop looks like he's out with his concussion. I don't think he's practiced yet this week. You still have Austin Jackson and James Daniels down, so the offensive line is a train wreck, right? Like it is what it is. I think Waddle and A-Chain will be productive like they are every game, but the Bills are going to do what they always do and beat us. And the Browns play the Jets, so that's a game I'll be paying attention to because that's going to help us in the draft order in some capacity, right? Someone's going to win that game. So I'm looking on the outside saying like how the Dolphins move up the draft order game. I mean, it's a tough win for them no matter how good or bad they are, but what I saw against Baltimore, that Dolphins team, and now that they've gave away Phillips to the Eagles for a 3rd-round pick, I don't think there's a lot of confidence in that locker room. Hell, we don't even know if Rasul Douglas is going to be playing. We may be Jack Jones and Ethan Bonner out there. Start Khalil Shakir in your dynasty leagues. I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be good. I think the Bills probably beat us by double digits or even more. It's going to be pretty handily, not on triple digits, but they probably beat us by a couple scores and they probably have their way with us. And I have a feeling that it won't probably be a great game for the quarterback because if this team's checked out, the Bills are going to get after them. They're a good defensive team. They're disciplined. It's probably going to be an ugly Monday on the timeline for the Miami Dolphins fans.
One step closer to the top 3 draft pick, though. I mean, what else can you say?
And maybe that makes me the biggest loser. And again, if they go and beat Buffalo, I'm not going to get on the timeline and be mad. Like I want the Dolphins to win.
It's just like it's just what's the point? Because the roster's flawed, the front office is massively flawed, the coaching staff is flawed. I mean, what's the point here anymore? I mean, that's where I'm at right now. Well, you knew where I was. You knew I was leading the charge last year. I wanted to draft Jackson Dart last year. I was ready to go for Jackson Dart last year. I'm right back in the spot. I'm telling you, give me Ty Simpson. Give me more. I mean, if he's the only one on the board and you're picking in the top 5, I guess give me Mendoza or give me Brandon Sorsby at the top of the 2nd. I mean, I'm ready to go again, but I also am in a weird place where it's like, listen, don't force the QB.
No,
take the BPA. Take the BPA, and it'll give you one more year to not only fill out the roster a little bit with draft picks and free agency and some youth, but it'll also give you another year to maybe try and figure out more assets you can move and stack some more draft picks. And I'll tell you this much. If if you're picking 4 and the top 3 quarterbacks are gone and you were dead set on a quarterback there, trade back and start acquiring. If that means you acquire 2027 first to move back between 10 and 15, do it.
And you know what? You can trade back as many times as you want in the NFL.
Yeah.
So if you want, I think the way to do it is get a quarterback in the top 5. And if you don't get the quarterback you want, I'd play that draft board like it was chess all
BPA.
night long.
And take a guy in the second.
Seconds. Yeah, I would keep moving back, and I would leave with extra day 2 picks, and I would try to get those picks to be 2027. And we know this.
Agreed.
The NFL history shows us that teams will trade future picks for current picks.
Yeah.
They're worth more. Understand the draft class. 2027 is far superior than 2026. You have the albatross that is Tua's contract. If you can't get your quarterback, get yourself draft capital. Win with that. I agree 100%.
Guys, we got to get out of here. Fins up all day, every day. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll preview the Bills game. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you on the next one.